it's finally come to this. I'm filming a video in my pajamas. Hi there friends, if you're new to my channel, my name's Nicole and I'm here today with a review of the West End Phantom of the Opera. Now, Phantom of the Opera is actually one of my favorite shows and one of the shows that got me into musical theater, but I've not seen it in a really long time. I've actually only seen it twice before, both times on Broadway, both times with Sierra Bodges as Christine. But I've seen Hugh Pinero and Norm Lewis as the Phantom before, but I'd never seen it here in the West End. So for a special Easter weekend treat, my friend Rhiannon and I decided to book in to go see it on Friday evening, and we were so excited because it's also one of the shows that got Rhiannon into theater, and it was just a really fun experience to see it with someone who loves it equally as much. So first I'm going to talk a bit about the production itself, and then I will talk about some specific actors. Let me just say, it is truly one of the most stunning, beautiful productions ever. I think I forget sometimes because obviously the music is such a classic score, it's such a beautiful album, that I forget just how great the actual production itself is. Like, the costumes and the sets are just stunning. They are stunning. There's no way around it. I think it might be my favorite set of costumes of any West End show. And the sets are so cool. Honestly, seeing the chandelier go up just blew my mind. Blew my mind all over again. I have to say, that overture, as soon as the like bum, 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 bum kicked in, I started crying. I was just crying. Not really sure why, but I was crying. It is definitely a classic for a reason. And now I also will say, for everything that I say from this, we actually were in the very last row of the theater in the top balcony because we kind of decided between this and Les Mis last minute. So by the time we decided the only affordable seats left were in the top balcony, we actually weren't even next to each other. We were across the aisle from each other, but it was fine because we both got an aisle seat. So everything that I say, know that I'm saying this from the point of view of someone who was in the very last row of the theater. But I still was just absolutely blown away by it. It actually was kind of cool being in the balcony because we were kind of level with, there's a couple of scenes where there's this like weird platform like way up above the stage that the Phantom uses whenever he like brings down the chandelier, spoilers. And so it's kind of cool to be like on level with that and able to see it, because I think you might miss that depending on where you were seated if you had a better seat. Also, I realized maybe I should say, if you don't know somehow, the Phantom of the Opera is about this... Okay, I was going to say this man. No, the Phantom of the Opera is about this young woman named Christine, who is a dancer in the ballet corps of the Paris Opera House. She's an orphan, her dad was a violinist, and she's been taking lessons from this kind of disembodied voice who she believes to be the angel of music sent to her by her father. Now, whenever something happens and the prima donna of the opera kind of quits last minute, a performance, she gets to step in because she's been taking these vocal lessons, and she wows everyone. And the opera's new patron, the Vicomte de Chagny, Rao, who is also her childhood sweetheart, they kind of re-meet and fall in love, and he's courting her. But at the same time, this voice teacher of hers is the Phantom of the Opera, who's this kind of supposedly ghost who haunts the opera house, but he's actually this disfigured man who kind of extorts money from the managers of the opera and kind of tries to make sure that everything is run the way that he wants it, and also kind of manipulates Christine because he's in love with her. So that was not a very good explanation, but that's kind of what it's about. So it's this, I don't even want to call it a love triangle because it feels weird to call it that, but I guess it is. And what hit me watching it this time was the fact that I don't think of it as a love story. To me, it seems very much like a coming-of-age tale for this young woman about this kind of naive, daydreamy young girl who has to find her own strength and find her own path and find her ability to make her own choices and have her own agency. And I think that if you look at it like that, it's a really, really powerful show. So I'm going to talk about some specific performers. I have their names written down here. I just want to say right now, if I mispronounce anyone's name, I'm really sorry. So Meg Giry, who is Christine's best friend and a promising young dancer at the in the ballet, is played by Georgia Ware, and she was absolutely lovely. She's got a really nice voice, but her dancing is just beautiful, and that's coming from someone with like 15 years of ballet experience. Her lines are lovely. She carries herself like a dancer. It really like she actually looked like someone who would be, you know, the rising star of the ballet. And she also just had a really nice playing chemistry with the Christine. Like they seemed like actual good best friends. But I also liked that in some ways she seemed kind of like she was trying to take care of Christine. Like Christine's kind of the naive, like daydreamy friend who she kind of has to mom friend a bit. And I really liked that. We had 2 understudies, one of which was for the Carlotta, who's the kind of prima donna of the opera, and she was played by Una Reynolds, I think is how you would say that, and she had an incredible voice. Now, Carlotta is a very, very difficult role. It's quite an operatic role, and her voice was just stunning. She absolutely blew me away. Raoul is currently played by Jeremy Taylor, and I have to say I wasn't that impressed. He has an amazing voice that sounded really lovely, and I'm not sure if this is him or the direction at the moment, but I felt that his characterization was a bit lackluster. It kind of felt like Raoul didn't have much of a personality at all, and I know that there has been some push that way with direction ever since Love Never Dies came out and all of that, but I'm typically like a super Raoul fangirl. I love Raoul. He's one of my favorite characters. It makes sense. Like I love Mr. Bingley. I love Marius and Les Mis. I love Raoul. But I kind of felt like he was lacking in personality. I didn't really see a real reason for Christine to like him, to the point that by the end of Act 1, I was kind of rooting for the Phantom, which is so not me. I'm typically the first person to be like, the Phantom's a really horrible person and you shouldn't want him to be with Christine. But he kind of won me over, which was weird. Now, the Phantom was played by Luke McCall, who I believe is the second cover, and he was incredible. Now, he's really young to be playing the Phantom. I was like, why do I know that name whenever I saw it on the cast board? And I realized it's because I remember him from when he was in Les Mis. But he is just stunning. Vocally, he's really lovely. Kind of reminds me of a mix between Ramin Karimloo and John Owen Jones, which would mean like the perfect Phantom, I guess. And I just thought that his voice is really well suited to the material. After, like, during the interval after Act 1, I had said to Rhiannon, I was like, oh, like, he's really good. Kind of wish he was making a little bit more bold choices in his acting, but he's an understudy and you don't know how much freedom they're really allowed, so I totally get it, not holding it against him. Boy, did he prove me wrong in Act 2. Which kind of actually made it work really well, because in Act 1 he was quite dignified, quite sophisticated almost for the Phantom, and then Act 2, all hell broke loose. He was violent in the final layer in a way that I've not seen many Phantoms be, which I thought worked really well. It almost felt like something within him had actually like snapped. He was quite rough with the Christine, which I actually really appreciated, because it did, you know, hit you back to just how bad what he's doing is. But there also was a part, which I'm sorry, this video is very spoilery, but I'm assuming if you're watching it, you probably know the plot of Phantom of the Opera. There's a bit in the final layer where he literally just like laid sprawled out on the floor crying. And I was like, this man gets it. No, but really, he was a stunning Phantom. I really appreciated that he, you know, made some bolder choices, took a stance. I really like it when Phantoms don't just completely play it safe, because I think that it's really fun to see kind of a spin on the character. Obviously, I'm quite spoiled because the first Phantom I ever saw was Hugh Pinero, who was insane as the Phantom. I mean, literally, he seemed to be playing that the Phantom's just not there. So I really, really appreciated Luke McCall, and I'm really glad that I got to see him. I will say I had a kind of funny experience, because Wandering Child is one of my favorite parts of the whole show, and Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again was as well, which Kelly did an incredible job in Wishing. And it ended, and I you know, gotten teary-eyed but hadn't cried. And Wandering Child started, and I just started like anger crying. Like I was so mad and upset that I was like anger crying, which is the thing that I do, which sucks. Because it kind of dawned on me just how much like, here are these two men, especially the Phantom though, who are manipulating this lost, orphaned young girl who's just trying to figure out her way in life. And I was just, it was kind of one of those moments where, if you remember on the red carpet of the Hunger Games, the little girl who played Rue, whose name I cannot remember right now, it's like Amanda something, whenever they would ask her if she was Team Peeta or Team Gale, she'd always say, I'm Team Katniss. And that was me last night. I was like, forget the Phantom, forget Raoul, I am Team Christine. So, Christine is currently played by Kelly Mathieson. I'm probably saying that wrong, Mathieson. And she really, for me, brought home the fact that this is a coming-of-age story for Christine. And it's about this playful, naive, daydreamer, I keep saying that word, I'm sorry, young girl who has lost her father and is trying to find her way and trying to pursue her artistic dreams. and has to kind of find her own voice and find a way to stand up against everyone who's trying to make her choices for her. And her voice is so good. It's so well suited to the role. She sounded just really stunning, especially in bits like All I Ask of You. I was very impressed by that. But her acting is what really blew me away. Like, I've never seen a Christine be quite that playful before, which I think really works well with the character. I have to say, one of my favorite moments of the whole show was, and I've never seen it done like this, in the bit after Music of the Night where, you know, Christine goes and takes his mask off for the first time. I've always seen that played with the motivation kind of like, oh, she just wants to know what's under the mask, she's curious. I've seen it done kind of almost trance-like. Kelly played it where like she literally goes over and like pokes him on the shoulder and is like trying to get his attention, and he's not paying attention to her because he's writing this music, and so she takes the mask off, and it's kind of like a playful gesture of like, pay attention to me, which I thought was so ingenious and worked so well, because it also made Christine seem a little bit less just like disrespectful, like, hey, what's under here? But I thought that was such a brilliant choice, and I really love that. I love how playful she seemed overall, like in parts with Ral, like that with the Phantom, with Meg too, especially. I thought that it was such a cool characterization. It worked so well for the character. But mostly, I just really admired how she brought across a real character arc for Christine, and her final lair was brilliant. She actually felt like a very formidable foe for the Phantom in it in some ways. Like, there are bits, you know, where she would put herself in between Ral and the Phantom, and I honestly thought she was ready to fight him. Like, I think she would have, which I thought was great. You really got to see her find her own strength, and it was a very deliberate choice to do what she does in the final lair, and I thought that that was really amazing. So basically, after seeing Phantom of the Opera, I am now in full-on Andrew Lloyd Webber fangirl mode, which does happen every few months because Andrew Lloyd Webber is one of my favorite composers of all time, and I do think that Phantom of the Opera is a masterpiece and is a classic and is one of the best things to come out of the, you know, I'm gonna say it, I think it is one of the best works of the 20th century. I love it. I think it's great. I'm so glad that I got to see the production here in London. I actually think I might try and see it again before I end up leaving, because I would like to see the non-understudy, the main Phantom. And yeah, I'm so blown away by this whole cast though. They were really lovely. It's a beautiful production. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend going to see it because, like I said, it's a classic for a reason, and it's just beautiful to look at too. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you've seen Phantom, let me know down in the comments below, and let me know who your favorite Phantom and Christine and Ral and whatever are, because I always love to talk about Phantoms and Christines and who people like. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you want to see more reviews from me, and to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more theater content coming to you every single week. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye! His eyes will find us there, those eyes that burn, and if he has to kill 1,000 men, the Phantom of the Opera will kill and kill again. There is no Phantom of the Opera.